So I remember around 10 years ago in my life when I really first began to go after Jesus in a meaningful, powerful way. When God revealed his heart to me, he came and made himself known to me, revealed the finished work of the cross to my heart, and I began to respond and want to give that away, to pray for others, and begin to live in a way that represented Christ everywhere I went. And as I think back on that, what stands out to me is this kingdom paradigm that's true for you, that's true for everyone, and can be helpful for us as we learn how to be good disciple makers and disciple others. And that's this, that the gospel works like this. It comes to us first as an invitation. That it comes to us first as God making known to our hearts what Christ has already done and completed. In that moment when I began to walk after Jesus, it was the revelation of what Christ had done that empowered my heart and positioned me to be able to begin to respond to that and live it out and give it away to others. God wants to invite us in, make himself known, and then challenge us to give that away. In fact, we see that kind of rhythm happening in the life of Jesus. So today I want to share with you this tool that is called invitation and challenge. And what it does is it dials into this rhythm or this relationship between two different dynamics that Jesus modeled in his own ministry and discipleship that we can learn to recognize and then partner with the Lord as he is extending this same kind of dynamic to the disciples that we are meeting with. And what it says is there's this relationship between invitation and challenge. That God desires in us to empower us to live out high invitation, lives of high invitation and high challenge. And if we have a life that has high invitation but no challenge, this is where we end up in this quadrant up here. So if there's a relationship between high invitation, low challenge, high challenge, and if we have high invitation but low challenge, we end up here, and that manifests as consumerism. Or it looks like sitting in the pew, you come to a church meeting on Sunday morning, and you come and you sit and you receive, you get new revelation, new understanding, new things about God are revealed to your heart, but you never do anything with it. So there's low challenge, there's a low reality in that culture of living out or putting into practice the things of God. Now, in contrast, if we have a culture that's high challenge, where there's a lot of action that's being put forward, or a lot of things are being given to you as this imperative. You have to do this. You have to live this out. You're called to love people. You're called to do good works. You're called to live in this upstanding and high way, but it never comes from a place of being connected to God. It begins to manifest as we see lives of religion. Religion, in short, is simply rules or commands, actions that we take that don't come from a place of being empowered by God. If we are living out even the things that God has called us to do, but we're doing it in our own strength, we're trying to make it happen in our life, that is religion. Now, if we have neither one of those happening, neither invitation or challenge, we have death, right? We have spiritual death. And God desires for us to come into this quadrant up here where we have got high invitation and high challenge. But we see in the life of Jesus, there's this rhythm that these things don't just happen in a vacuum, invitation and challenge, but in reality, Jesus is constantly extending invitation and then from that place, extending challenge. He doesn't usually extend a challenge first without it coming from a place of invitation. His very life, his very being is an invitation. So some examples. In the Gospels, we see Jesus inviting his disciples by doing signs and wonders. He performs miracles that declare a new reality that has broken in. Heaven is breaking into earth. There's a new reality. No longer should there be pain in our bodies, but God has come to bring healing. That's an invitation to a new way of living. Jesus models multiplying food. As he's standing before the masses and he multiplies food, he's modeling a God who is provider. He's declaring the character and the nature of who God is. He also will ask a lot of questions. He'll say things to the disciples like, "Who do people say that I am?" And then from that place, they'll begin to respond. They're challenged to that. But we see that Jesus always starts with this place of invitation. Now take that example of the multiplying of food. Jesus does at one point turn around to his disciples and he says, "You give them something to eat." He's challenging them. He's giving them an appropriate amount of challenge, given that they have experienced and has been revealed to them a God who provides in Jesus. Jesus is in an appropriate way. This is a good thing. He's turning around to them and saying, now you give them something to eat. Because you've been connected, because you've encountered the God who has all provision, I've shown you what it means that God has all power, has all provision. Now you give them something to eat. Because you see, in the Gospels, Jesus does challenge us, but it always comes from a place of invitation. Challenge happens as Jesus makes challenging statements. He says, if you do not eat my flesh or drink my blood, you'll have no part of me. But he's saying this from a place of having lived among them, having revealed and made himself known as the Christ. And then he's saying, now I'm going to challenge you. Are you ready to respond and live this out? So we see this place of kingdom breakthrough doesn't happen just simply through challenge or simply through invitation, but it happens as we're invited in to experience the finished work of Christ and the nature of God, but then we learn how to put that into practice. So as disciple makers, we can learn to do this as well. And some ways that we begin to invite are the same way that Jesus did. Jesus asked questions. We can ask questions that help to facilitate somebody else experiencing and encountering the character and the nature of who God is in their life. And so as we see somebody getting tripped up or having a challenge in their life, or they're coming across questions, what we can do is begin to come alongside them and ask them questions to find, where do you see God in that? What do you see God actively doing in your situation right now? Or what name of God or what part of his heart is he revealing to you in this situation? When we ask questions like that, we're connecting them with the person of who God is. Also, we may begin to ask questions in a challenging way. How can you put that into action? How can you begin to practice that in your life? Or, I've demonstrated a tool to you in sharing the gospel. How have you been doing that this week? That's a challenging thing, but in an appropriate way, because they've been connected with God, because they've begun to encounter him, or I begin to model a tool, now it's appropriate to begin to challenge them. So I hope that's been helpful, and as you go about your week, as you go about your day, and you find disciples, begin to look in their lives and ask God to show you, does this person need more invitation or challenge? Guys, I sure hope this has been helpful content, and if it has, please take a moment and subscribe to our channel. Throw us a comment, a question. We'd love to connect with you and talk with you more.